Mario Kart 64 is a 1996 go-kart racing game developed and published by Nintendo for the Nintendo 64 video game console. It is the successor to Super Mario Kart for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System and is the second Mario Kart game. It was released first in Japan on December 14, 1996 and in North America and Europe in 1997. In January 2007, Mario Kart 64 was released as a downloadable Virtual Console title on the Wii. Changes from the original include the move to polygon-based true 3D computer graphics for track design, and the inclusion of 4-player support. Players take control of characters from the Mario universe, who race around a variety of tracks with items that can either harm opponents or aid the user. The move to three-dimensional graphics allowed for track features not possible with the original game's Mode 7 graphics, such as changes in elevation, bridges, walls, and pits. However, the characters and items remain 2D pre-rendered sprites. The game was critically well received and was a bestseller, although the game's use of billboard sprites was criticized by some. Gameplay. Mario Kart 64 is a kart racing game in which the player controls one of 8 selectable Mario characters who race in karts in different race tracks that vary in shape and theme. During a race, the players can obtain random items from special boxes placed in different areas of the track that are used to impede the opposition and gain the advantage. For example, shells and bananas allow the player to attack opponents and slow them down, and mushrooms grant the player a temporary boost in speed. Game modes. There are 4 different game modes available in Mario Kart 64, Grand Prix, Time Trial, Versus, and Battle. Grand Prix mode supports both single-player and competitive multiplayer gameplay, while other modes only support one or the other. Grand Prix Euro. This mode has 1 or 2 players participate in 4 consecutive 3-lap races, each on a different course, on one of the 4 selectable cups against 7 computer players. When the player completes a race, points are awarded based on the rank he or she finished. If the player ranks 5th or under, the player is required to restart the race, otherwise the player will not advance to the next one. After finishing all 4 races, trophies are awarded to the players who scored the highest accumulation of points: bronze for 3rd place, silver for 2nd, and gold for 1st. Difficulty level is measured by engine size, 50, 100, or 150 cc's. There is an additional unlockable difficulty called Extra, which allows players to race at speed 100 cc's on tracks that are inverted left to right. This is the first game in the series to provide this feature. Later installments call this feature Mirror Mode, or 150 cc's Mirror Mode. Time Trial Euro. This is a single-player-only mode where the objective is to complete a 3-lap race on the selected track in the shortest total time possible. There are no opponent races or item boxes, though the player will always begin each race with a triple mushroom in reserve. For any given course, the top 5 shortest total times are saved, and the shortest single lap time of any race is also saved. The player can select to race against a ghost character who will mimic the movement of the player from a previous race. Ghost data for up to 2 different courses can be saved permanently only on a controller pack device. However, the Virtual Console version of Mario Kart 64 released on the Wii is incompatible with the device and is thus unable to save ghost data. Versus Mode. Euro. 2 to 4 players compete in single races on any track without any computer players. With 2 players, the total number of wins for each player is tracked, and in 3 or 4 player matches, the number of 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place wins is tracked for each racer. Battle Mode. Euro. This mode, supporting 2 to 4 players, has a last man standing objective where the players attack each other with items inside one of 4 selectable arena courses. The players begin a match with 3 balloons attached to each of their karts. A player will lose 1 balloon each time his or her character is damaged by coming into contact with one of the other player's offending items, and is eliminated from play upon losing all balloons. The match ends when 1 player remains, who is then declared the winner. In 3 or 4 player matches, the first 2 players' characters to lose all their balloons will transform into mobile mini-bomb karts, and forfeit the ability to win the match. The mini-bomb kart is still maneuverable by the player and can collide and inflict damage on another player only once, after which it can no longer participate. Playable characters equals, Mario Kart 64 features 8 playable characters. Mario, Luigi, Princess Peach, Toad, Yoshi, and Bowser appeared in Super Mario Kart, while the remaining 2 characters, Wario and Donkey Kong, are new to the series, replacing Koopa Troopa and Donkey Kong Jr. The characters are divided into 3 weight classes: lightweights, whose karts have high acceleration and lower top speed; heavyweight, whose karts have low acceleration but high top speed; and middleweights, who have balanced acceleration and top speed. Tracks equals, Mario Kart 64 has 16 race courses and 4 battle courses. Development. Production of the game began in 1995 under its original title Super Mario Kart R, and was intended to be a launch game for the Nintendo 64, but more resources were given to Super Mario 64 Euro's development. Some brief early footage of the game was showcased at the Shoshinkai Software Exhibition in Japan on November 24, 1995. According to producer Shigeru Miyamoto, the game was in fact 95% complete at the time of the show, but Nintendo chose not to display a playable version due to the difficult logistics of demonstrating the multiplayer features. The prototype featured the feather item from Super Mario Kart and a Magakoopa as one of the 8 playable characters, who was replaced with Donkey Kong in the final game. The player's driving controls were designed to be similar to operating a radio-controlled car. While Mario Kart 64 features tracks that are fully rendered in 3D, the game uses billboarding to display the characters and items. Game director Hideki Kono stated that, while rendering the characters as 3D models was not impossible, the limited processing power of the console would not have allowed all 8 characters to appear on the screen at once. Instead, the characters are composed of pre-rendered sprites that show the characters from various angles to simulate a 3D appearance. Rare Limited, developer of the Donkey Kong Country games, provided Donkey Kong's character model. While Rubber Band AI was used to prevent all the racers from easily separating, the spiny shell item, which targets and attacks the player in first place, was added in order to keep each race competitive and balanced. The item was included in all subsequent Mario Kart games. Soundtrack. The soundtrack for Mario Kart 64 was composed by Kenta Nagata, which was his first work on a Nintendo game. The game's soundtrack was released several times in different formats including compact disc and audio cassette. 4 different versions of the album were released: Race Tracks and Greatest Hits soundtrack in North America. Original soundtrack and Club Circuit were released in Japan. It was later released in a 3-disc collection, along with the soundtracks of Star Fox 64 and Super Mario 64. Reception and legacy. Mario Kart 64 received generally positive reviews. The game has an average review ratio of 87% on game rankings, including reviews from IGN and GamePro, and magazines such as Electronic Gaming Monthly. IGN stated, though the single-player mode is a bit of a step back from the SNES original, Mario Kart 64 still offers one of the best multiplayer experiences to be had on Nintendo 64. GameSpot insisted that though the graphics and sound of the game are impressive, the gameplay is too easy and lacks depth. In their Virtual Console re-release review, the reviewer criticized its lack of ghost saving, sound and graphics, saying the latter had aged rather poorly. The game placed 17th in official Nintendo magazine's 100 Greatest Nintendo Games of All Time. Mario Kart 64 sold approximately 5.5 million copies in the United States and 2.24 million in Japan. Game Informer reported in June 2014 that the game had sold 9.87 million copies worldwide, making it the second best-selling game on Nintendo 64. References. External links. Official Nintendo Japan Mario Kart 64 site, Mario Kart 64 at DMOZ, Mario Kart 64 time trial players page, Mario Kart 64 guide at Strategy Wiki.